Welcome back, guys. So as promised in the last episode, today is XJS day. As I said before, I've been neglecting it the last few months. I haven't driven it enough, and I just think, considering the car was laid up for 11 or 12 years and I've driven it seldom since then, I think it's time I gave it a little bit of TLC, and I'm going to start with the suspension. I am going to drop the entire IRS at the back eventually, but I think just for starters, let's replace those shocks, because as I say, it was sitting in the barn for 11 plus years, and it might even be on its original shocks. So you know, when you hear a couple of little knocking noises from the back or creaking springs, whatever, we can have a look at all that. I can sort the brake calipers out in the IRS and also the handbrake, which is always a little bit temperamental. So yeah, without further ado, let's get stuck in. Just lift the pressure on the hub so the pin knocks out easier. And don't forget this insert, which goes here. You'll need this for the new shocks. And as they drop out, remember where all these shims and washers go. Now, on the outside looking in, I suppose it seems pretty straightforward, but in real time, it actually took quite a few hours because of this. When the bolt rusts up on the end and you start taking the nut off, it actually jams up on the rusty end. And it doesn't matter how much WD or releasing oil you put on, it's an absolute nightmare. And also lying on your back with lack of tools, well, that doesn't help either. You beauty. Shock. So, that's progress. Okay, before we get into this, a new parcel's arrived. Now, remember in previous episodes, I purchased a car cover from a company called Richbrook. I think they're over in Norfolk. And I got an indoor one for the Porsche 928, and I also got one for the 190 SL out in California. Nice stretchable covers that go indoors and keep all the dust off your car. But because of the arrival of the Bentley, and you know, we've got the roller and the Bentley in the garage, unfortunately the 928 has gone outside and the weather hasn't been great, and I've got this poxy little cover over it, and it's really not good. So I bit the bullet again and phoned Richbrook, and kindly they've sent me this lovely cover, but it's an outdoor one. As I say, the other ones were indoors, and this is an all-weather storm cover. That's perfect. And these are kind of lined inside with the breathable covers so that it doesn't lift the paint on your car, and it gives it maximum protection. So as it looks like it's going to piss down any second, let's put it to the test, eh? Nice cover case. Oh yeah, look at that. Quality. And equally as important, when that sun comes out, protecting it from them UV rays, especially with it being red. And so, from one parcel to another, I use a company called David Manners for all my Jaguar bits. You remember it did the oil cooler on the XJS, and you know, I just think they supply quality parts. So I ordered all the shock absorbers off them. Let's see what we've got here. Now, there was a bit of a choice. I mean, there was upgrade kits and all the rest of it, but you know me, I like to keep cars completely stock, and because I'm not taking it round the track or racing it or doing anything out of the ordinary, I don't see why a car can't run originally how it was designed to run on its original running gear. That seems nice enough. Yeah. You know, and I was looking at these old shocks here. Now, these are Sachs shocks. Now, originally they were meant to be Bosch, so that tells me that somewhere along the lines they've been changed. And you know, if you look at these have done the work. You know, as I said, the car was laying up for 11 years or so. It's been used sporadically, so I think it's time for a change, don't you? But Jack at David Manners explained to me, you know, when the other shocks and the other springs go, it's like you've got to, there's so many different types, you've got to match them up, and there's all kinds of different shims that go with them, and it end up a little bit complicated. But these ones, these just go straight on. And the David Manners own, they've been tried and tested, and I think they're going to be a damn sight better than what's already in there. So yeah, these are the front ones. I've got the fronts and the rears. Have a look at the rears. Oh yeah, look at that. And I like this. I like it when the package comes, it's really well packed. You know, nice and safe and no damage and no comebacks. And if you look at that to that, that'll look a treat in there. Yeah. And the car will feel and handle and run a lot better as well. Because as I say, these things wear out over the years. And if you just have a little look at what else is in here. These out the way. So there's the gaiters for the power steering. I've never really been quite happy with the power steering rack that's in the car. It looks to me like a bit of a spurious one, but not fitted that well. And it always leaks a little bit. Now, I think you remember back to an earlier episode, the high pressure hose burst once when I was on a journey. Remember, I had to replace that, but I haven't replaced the feed pipe. And like I say, it just leaks out of the rack. And I think there's a couple of little bolts missing here and there. So yeah, there's the gaiters for that. The bits and bobs there, all the seals for it. So I'll go through that and rebuild it, or like I say, if it is one of them spurious ones, I might just bite the bullet and go for the full rack. There's your subframe mounts. Like I say, I'm going to drop the IRS suspension at the back and just rebuild everything. Do the calipers, which seem to be working at kind of 50%, as is the handbrake. It's a little bit non-existent, so yeah, I'll replace them. And you know, these aren't originals. These are David Manners' own once again, and if you look at them, they're pretty decent quality parts. well substantial then. Yeah, it should go well. So yeah, I'm just going to rebuild the whole IRS unit and then put it back in like a brand new, complete, dependable unit. But anyway, this is all going to be done probably over a couple of episodes, so stick with it. You know, it's due a couple of decent episodes. I've been neglecting it lately, so as always, only one thing left to do, and that's let's get stuck in. They kind of look the same, but look at the difference here. This is held in place by two split collets, but you'll notice on the new ones, it's a slightly different setup and much easier in my mind. And once again, with me trusty Clark strong arm, this has saved me life time and time again. Makes the job so much easier and safer. And if you are interested in purchasing any of the accessories I use in the show or any of these parts from David Manners, I'll leave a link in the description box below. Give the springs a little clean up. And then it's out with the new one. And you'll notice the difference here. Instead of those fiddly split collets, it's just a disc and it clicks into place. And also, remember to line up the eyes. This is just easier for refitment. So the bolts go in parallel to each other. See? What a difference. One down, 3 to go. Almost there. It's like Groundhog Day, this. So that's that. Put the front ones in with them, and away we go. So it was out with the old, and in with the new. Including new bolts, I might add. I just thought this would make the job so much easier. Now I slightly damaged the thread on one of the main pins, so I'm just cleaning it up with the thread file before it goes back on. And a little bit of copper grease and that all important shim, and in it goes. And don't forget the washer. And then, disaster. Oh dear. Yeah, so you saw there the car wouldn't start, and I think it's probably down to me. I mean, I haven't been driving the car for a while now, even though I keep it covered up, and now and again I might just start it to move it about so I can get the Lotus out, but it looked to me like the reason it wouldn't start was because I've let the tank run so low that eventually I've tried to start the car. The fuel pump, which is situated underneath the battery tray, has sucked up all the sludge and the gunge, and it's gone into the pipes and hopefully not into the injectors. So all I can do really is start at the bottom, page 1, and hopefully if I put like 60 quid's worth of fuel in, it'll just push it all through and everything will be fine again. I mean, I'm hoping it's that. It could be a fuel pump relay, it could be any number of things, but the last thing I want to do is have to pull that tank out and put a new fuel pump in. So even though I'm fearing the worst, I'm hoping for the best. So let's start at the bottom, shall we? Now that tells me the tank was completely empty, you heard that. Let's have a go, shall we? Fingers crossed. Let the pressure in the brakes build up. I just heard the pump go there, which is normally a good sign. just feel it clearing there. I think all the crap's being pushing through the injectors, and hopefully it'll go out the other side. Feels a lot smoother. It's not cutting out. Feels like it's sort of on about 9 or 10. I noticed the alternator light's on as well, the battery light. Oh no, that's coolant. That's coolant. So, before I let it warm up too much, I'll put fresh coolant in. That's progress anyway. I'll check the coolants because all kinds of going through my head now, thinking, I wonder has all the coolant ran out all the months it's been sitting here, and cylinder head gasket and all the rest of it, but I don't think that's going to be the case. It's probably just a little bit low, just needs a top up. But yeah, that sounds promising. I mean, you could hear it clearing through. It was running at about 3 or 4 cylinders to begin with, but I think that's just all the crap coming through the injectors, and as I say, hopefully we got away with it. But it's my fault, you know, bad maintenance, bad care, whatever. But sometimes when you're really busy, these are the things that can happen. And I just noticed as well, there's a tiny little shrew that keeps coming out of a hole. And it came out twice, and then it went back in, and then suddenly it ran underneath the car, and I was like, is it in the Lotus? Is it in the Jag? You know, these are the kind of things these are the pitfalls you got to get over, because as you know, vermin can get into your car and they can literally chew through all your wiring, so always be vigilant. Anyway, let's crack on, let's see this coolant. Right. Nice and clean. Sometimes it takes a few days if you have done your head gaskets in. I don't think it's the case with this, so I wouldn't see why. Also, I'm going to check the fan belt as well and make sure that hasn't gone ping. Yeah, that's slack, the belt, so I'm going to have to tighten that up before I go on a journey. The power steering belt's good, aircon belt's good. I want to put another one of these on as well. I know I replaced this a while back, but you know, if you look here, you see the odd little crack here. These are renowned for just going bang and going through your radiator, so yeah, I'm going to do that again. I think it's done a few miles since I last did it. You never can be too careful. I'll check the oil, make sure there's no mayonnaise in it. As you can see, that oil's lovely and clean. Doesn't even smell of fuel. And I changed this not long back, and I put good oil in. So far so good, but I'll have to just keep an eye on it and make sure nothing else transpires over the next few days. I mean, it almost sounds like a block fuel filter. So that's the next step. You saw all the white smoke as well. It must have been dragging some crap up from the tank. And hopefully it's all stayed in the filter, so maybe that's clogged. And it was a fairly new filter as well. But it just feels like there's no proper fuel delivery going to the engine. Or it does for a while, and then suddenly it just cuts out. So your fuel filter's just behind here. Take the spare wheel out and everything's revealed then. See, it sounds pretty normal, pretty smooth. Like it's still on choke, and then it slows down a little bit and then it cuts out. I mean, that sounds really sweet. It's really unusual the way it's just decided to cut out. Feels like it's missing one on this side. See where that's missing? And this one, this side, nice and smooth. Everything's firing as normal. No spitting, you know. So one of the plugs on this bank isn't firing, or two maybe. And I know these are renowned for not firing on all 12, but they should do. Normally it's because the number 12 plug is so difficult to get to, people just neglect it and leave it and change all the other plugs over the years. But we'll do some further investigation and see what's going on. So, confident everything's back to normal, I set out on a 3-hour journey and all was sound. Listen, the fact that on this bank it's missing a little bit, it could be anything, could be an injector that's just sticking, so we could have a look at that. But first of all, you know, considering this car has been laid up for so long before I bought it, I haven't even changed the spark plug on this car, which is amazing. It's really unusual. I know it took me a couple of hours to get the car started, you know, back when I purchased it, you know, a couple of years ago, but the fact that I've never replaced a single plug is amazing. I mean, the engine runs beautifully, doesn't it? But I bumped into a guy called Dave Gidman. He was one of the youngest apprentices at Jaguar. This is going back years ago. I'm sure he won't enjoy me saying that, but he was the quickest to pass all his exams and become a fully trained mechanic at Jaguar. I think he was about 17 years old or something like that. But he said, I've got the tool, the special tool for removing the spark plugs, and I've never had the chance to use it. So I'm looking forward to having a little go. You see, normally you have to get rid of like the aircon compressor and, you know, unbuckle it all and move it over and brace it over there so you can just get at one of the plugs. And the same with the others, you're like a contortionist trying to, you know, get them out, and then you have problems where they rust in. I've been soaking these anyway overnight with a bit of plus gas, so hopefully they'll just come out nice and easy and they won't snap, because that would be a major operation if they did. So anyway, here goes. But you know, even with this special tool, it's a really fiddly job. And as I've said, most people remove the air conditioning compressor, but I'm going to try and do it by keyhole surgery. And remember, there's 12 of these. That's why I'm doing just one plug. Yeah, now looking at that, that says a perfectly healthy engine. Nice sort of biscuity coloured, nice and clean. Yeah, but I've noticed there's a tiny little crack through the porcelain here, and that could have been causing a misfire, or simply I could have done it when I was trying to get it out. You never know, but I'll put a new one back in there, and eventually I'll just change all the plugs, because as I say, even though they're nice and clean and healthy, or this one is, you know, that could have been causing a misfire. But I just wanted to see that the engine was healthy, it wasn't running rich, and that to me is nice. I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to replace it with a new plug, since that one's cracked. And you must always check the gaps on these. I know these are meant to be pre-gapped, you know, at the factory, whatever. But you know, I've had them before where electrode, whatever you call it, on the end is completely smashed in or far too wide. And if you get your gaps wrong, you know, this is a V12, say the gap's wrong on one of them, you're going to feel it. So yeah, get this back in, and as I say, in the future I'll go through it all and I'll replace all the plugs, because I reckon these are about 20 years old, these plugs. But for the time being, because it's a job that takes a whole day, I'll just bang this back in and we're good to go again for now. Easier said than done. So with that done, let's get on to them front shock absorbers. Well, these air filters look like they could do with replacing. Let's add that to the list. Now at the top of these shock absorbers you've got a double nut, and rather than trying to get a couple of spanners in there and fiddling about for hours on end, I've decided to use this clever little nut splitter. You've got a little blade here, and as you tighten it, it splits through the nut, and eventually you hear it crack, and then it comes off easily. Oh, and I forgot to mention earlier, it's always best to just give it a couple of pumps just to get the gas going. Then you can put the holding strap back on, which will help refitment. Because these are slippery little suckers. Yeah, so there you go guys, what we thought was just like a routine job of fitting a few new shocks, it actually turned into a bit of a more involved job. And I think there's something to be said for driving your car on a regular basis. Look, I'm not saying this wouldn't have happened if I was driving it daily, but I also think if you let a car sit up, all these problems just snowball and it's like a domino effect. So yeah, you guessed it, the starting problem returned the next day and here I am. I've got to sort that out now. It could be something simple, but I'll probably end up going through the whole ignition system. And anyway, tune in next time for the next instalment, and we'll crack on and we'll try and get it sorted. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Every little helps. And see you all next time. Thank you for watching this episode of Classic Obsession. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And see you all next time.